Okay, I'm back on this 113 motor here, Ultima. I wanted to go over this intake port situation here and not ignore it like I did in the video here a minute ago. If you watch the 110 motor review, you can see more about that also. Okay, the big problem with these ports are these are big oval port heads. They're way bigger than the stock head. This is your stock intake manifold. The problem with this motor is that this manifold almost fits inside the port. So you have very little sealing area in here. See the big black mark all the way around it? That's because it doesn't cover the hole up very well. So this is a 1/5/8, 1/600, and this is 1/770 through here, or 1.8 all the way across. And this is nowhere near that big. So the OD on this is less than what it is this way. It's almost the same this way. So when you run your stock carburetor on here, manifold, or your stock throttle body, the only thing that's keeping this manifold from sucking into the head is it's just barely hitting on probably about 30 to 50 thou on each side here at most, probably not even that much on the side. And the rest of it it'll pull right in the port. So the intake seals are going to be doing a lot more work trying to steady everything and seal, plus you're going to have all the air-fuel mixture is going to be on there eating up the darn O-rings. So running some kind of a silicone O-ring would be better than just a regular Viton one, but you know, it's going to be hard on the O-rings. So technically you can bolt it in there, but realistically you're going to have intake leaks in short term. And the manifold's going to get chewed up, and it's going to chew the head up a little bit. But the head's a lot stronger than the manifold, so the manifold's going to take the beating. But it will tear it up a little bit. So highly recommended that you do not use a stock manifold, because you're going to have problems, or a throttle body. So there you go. Don't use that. Now, if you go to the carburetor, you can run an S&S manifold. This is the drag specialty number here. This is the S&S number right down here. So this is the matching port size. Look at the difference in the manifolds here. If you're blind, you can still see the difference. So it's also different on the inlet side. Now there's an O-ring that goes in here that adapts to 48, 45, and 42 millimeter CV carbs, or the 40 CV carb from Harley, McKinney, then you got CVs. So this one only takes the small 42 millimeter carb or the 40 CV carb. This one will take all 4 carburetors with the appropriate rubber U-ring, they call it. So the problem with this is you can see how this is almost the same size as the manifold going into it. So there's a huge difference in the bore size on these. And like I said, also the difference in flow size between the two. So when you put this big port one up in here, it fits. And you can see how the manifold lines up a lot better. Now this one here, the head's a little bit different location than the other motor I did. The 100 it fit up better. These heads are spread out further than they need to be. These heads don't line up very well. The 100 motor line up a lot better. So they're not lining up inside the hole very well. These heads are too far apart. So either these cylinders are taller, which makes it a wider spread intake, or the heads are spread out. When you tighten the head down there, they can rotate this way or that way a little bit. If they rotate this way, they get tighter in here, but you know, it changes the angle slightly. There you go. No, that actually makes it bigger. If you go the other direction, it gets tighter. So if you rotate this way, it gets tighter. So these look like they need to be rotated inwards a little bit on both to make this manifold fit better. Because right now the manifold's not fitting super good. See, it's too low. It's too short. So you got some. Should be better if it's longer. See the clearance in there? That's how much too short the manifold is. Now S&S does have some different length manifolds, so in this application, this one worked really good on the stock motor, but on this motor here it's not quite as good. So I'm not sure what the overall lengths here on these, but this one is definitely not fitting up as good as it could, which is a problem. especially since this was bought for this motor. And those are back ordered from everybody right now. Okay, now this is a 66mm throttle hog. So this is your big boy manifold. And you can see how it's got the bigger port like this, but not quite the same, but close. So it has the same OD here. Yeah, actually, those are tick bigger OD. A little bit thicker. It's good. And obviously that doesn't mean squat because that's what you're flowing through. Now let's see if this one's a little longer. Fits better. Okay. This one does not fit in here at all. This one's way too wide. This is made for a bigger motor. Because this was purchased for a 124, which has a taller deck height. So the heads are up higher in the air, spreads the manifold wider. See how it doesn't fit in there? Now you can make it fit in there by going in there and shortening up these flanges equally on both sides, and then it would fit. Very difficult situation. And you can see how the spread just does not fit. The angles are different between the manifold and the heads also. So they're just not fitting very well. This stuff worked a lot better on that 100 motor. So let's see if it's a stock manifold. And there's not enough to hit on to see, but if you go in and get the manifold up high enough where it hits the metal, seems like it's kind of semi-right angles. So this one seems to fit the right V angle here. Obviously the length is way off. Let's see, get that in there. I think the V angle's right on this. It's just the length is a little wonky, as you would call it. It needs to be a little bit longer. 50 thou longer would make this fit up really nice. So, even though they say these motors are made to fit everything, you can't put stock parts in motors that aren't made to be stock. So this is stock manifold. You can see how it's really not very good. This is a stock length manifold for a stock motor, but it don't fit very well either, but it fits a lot better than the other one. So, but it's a little short, that's why it's hanging down low. See how it's low in the port there? When it goes in a little too deep, that's because it's short. So if you line up this one manifold right here, the port right there looks really nice. You can see that gap in there. See, it's about 50 thou thick, and that's our problem. So this manifold needs to be a little bit longer. Alright, so there you go. You can see how fitment issues are going to be problems. So these are all things that you don't know about until you go put it together, and then it's time to figure out what to do to fix it. That means just lots more money. Because this is really hard to come by, and it don't work. That one will not work, and that definitely don't work. So that means you get to go hunting for parts that are better, or you have to live with the misalignments in here, what's going on. And the more misalignment you got, the more the O-rings have to work, and the less they're happy. So this one here would work in there, but it's just not as happy if it was correct length. These other ones are way off. So, all right, well there you go. That sums up the intake manifold fitting issues. The next thing is how the exhaust will fit up, because if the heads are different heights, the exhaust pipes start not working, especially if you have 2-in-1 pipes where they're a set dimension across here. They start not working on these bigger motors, because when these heads and stuff go up higher, the ports come out, things just don't match up correctly. Alright, well there you go. More info.